Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and taking care, and welcome to this brand new Dog 2 video on the channel. So today, no surprise at all, but I will of course be reviewing Series 13 Episode 1, The Halloween Apocalypse. Now I have just finished watching the episode. Unfortunately, I had extremely unluck with this episode because I was watching it live on BBC iPlayer and my internet crashed 3 times during the episode, and I have no idea why, but it meant I had to basically keep stopping and restarting, so I'm finishing the episodes around 20 minutes late, which is really annoying and pretty frustrating. So yeah, that wasn't a great start. But in terms of the episode itself, I have just finished watching. I've not went on social media, I've got no idea what anyone thought, but personally I really enjoyed it, and I would easily say this is one of the best series openers we've had. So I guess we'll start off first by talking about the characters. So obviously we had the return of the 13th Doctor, and I want to say I really enjoyed Jodie Whittaker a lot in this episode, and I think what I take from the 13th Doctor in this series opener is that we are going to see a more serious 13th Doctor this season. Jodie, to me, in this episode wasn't how she was in Series 11 and Series 12. Her Doctor wasn't as jokey, she was a lot more serious, and you can see why, because obviously she's got stuff going on in her head with the Timeless Child stuff, and it makes sense as well with previous Doctors, with the 12th Doctor, not the 12th Doctor, because he actually became more childish over time, but we've seen with the 7th Doctor, and even the 10th Doctor, for example, that in their third seasons they were a lot more dark. Well, with David Tennant it was the specials, but still, you know what I mean. It definitely feels they are going down the darker route with Jodie Whittaker. I know some people will like that, some people won't. For me, I think it's a good decision. I've very much enjoyed the more childish 13th Doctor, but at the same time I feel it'd be good to see a different side of her Doctor this season, so I'm really glad they are going down that route, and I very much did enjoy Jodie in this episode. It was great as well to see Yaz back. She definitely got a lot of screen time in this episode, which I was glad about, so hopefully that dynamic will continue throughout the season. And yeah, you could tell that obviously she is a bit distant with the Doctor at the moment. Well, the Doctor's a bit distant with her. That they does look like they've had a good relationship so far, but obviously now the Timeless Child is getting in the way and the Doctor's been a bit secretive, so I did like that dynamic. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Phasmin, because at the start of the episode there was that scene after all the green stuff, which I have to say, the CGI we'll get to later, but it wasn't the best in this episode, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, in that start scene we had the Doctor and Yaz land in the TARDIS, and there was a bed in the TARDIS console, so obviously that's going to get speculation going on what's going to happen with Phasmin throughout the series. We'll just have to wait and see there. But obviously as well we had our brand new companion Dan, and I really liked Dan in this episode. He did feel very down to earth. It did pretty much just feel like John Bishop, but I really loved the comedy from Dan in this episode. It really clicked with me, and I liked the way in particular he was introduced. It wasn't your normal introduction, it was kind of very much, he is just thrown in completely into the action, and it was a very different kind of introduction to Dan. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, and I feel I do need to see more of Dan to get my overall opinion on what I think of him as a companion. But so far in his introduction I really liked Dan. He came across as very likeable, the humour worked well. It was good as well to meet his, I don't think it was confirmed, I think it's just his work friend. It looks like someone he wants to date at the start of the episode. It was nice to meet her. We know that Dan's parents is going to be in the episode at some point, the season at some point, so I'd imagine we'll meet them in the next episode or so. But it does look like there's going to be more of a meeting Dan's kind of, I guess, social life kind of characters, which is always good to see. But yeah, it was, the three main characters I very much did enjoy in this episode. So moving on now to actually talk about the storyline. So pretty much what it was a bit all over the place, this plot, but basically it starts off with the Doctor who is looking for the Carvanista, who is someone that I think used to be part of the Division, so they're a Division ex-member, and the Doctor is basically getting into a bit of trouble with them and wants to speak to them about the Division. So I think that's a really good part of the episode. I very much enjoy it, and I do have to say the Carvanista is a really good villain. It's a villain that you don't take too seriously, but you also don't take completely unserious either. They were a very good threat in the episode. The comedy from that actor, I think his name was Craig Ellis, was very good, very funny. And I did like the Carvanista. I do hope we see more of him throughout the season. And obviously as well we had finally our introduction to Flux, which is this kind of, I'm guessing disease that's kind of traveling through the universe, sucking up all these planets, and I'm really interested to see where the Flux has come from. But obviously the biggest kind of surprise from this episode was the introduction of the Swarm. So from what I make of it, from what first watch, I wanted to rewatch it, but from what I make of it, the Swarm is a prisoner that the Division were looking after, because we saw the two characters who were approaching this prisoner near the start of the episode. They actually had guns that were the same guns that Gat had in Series 12, so I'm pretty sure they are Division members. And yeah, the Swarm is this prisoner that for some reason the Division have been locked up, and then it obviously escapes. And I have to say, that first scene with the Swarm was absolutely terrifying. It looked like so creepy, so disgusting. I loved it. Obviously the design did change when it got released. The design became a little less creepy, but I still really like that design. It definitely looks much better than I thought it would, than it looked in the trailer. It looks 100 times better, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing who the Swarm is, because there's one scene in particular between the Swarm and the Doctor, and that pretty much confirms that the Swarm knows who the Doctor is. It was something to do with the Timeless Child Doctor, because the Swarm was like, you don't remember me, but I remember you. So obviously this is something to do with the Timeless Child incarnations. And it does look like, from what the dialogue was saying, it looks like the Swarm and the Doctor were once upon a time, they were actually working together. And it does actually sound like the Doctor was a villain. It does look like they were up to no good, and it's going to look like, I think that's where the season's going to go, and it's actually going to be confirmed that the Doctor was originally not a good person and was actually a villain. And if that is the case, that is an absolute fantastic idea. That is doing something that I think will have a real impact on the Doctor this season. But I'm very interested to see where it goes with the whole Swarm. We've also seen some of the other species as well. But this episode had, like, there's so much to talk about. I'll probably need to do another video throughout the week, because there's just so much to talk about. But obviously as well, we saw the Centaurans, so they are obviously coming back. And I have to say, I really like the design of Centaurans. I know some people were concerned they were going to look a bit too much like a costume, but I don't think that's the case at all. The Cybermen, the Centaurans looked very legit. I also liked the voices as well. I liked the humour between the two Centaurans. I think with the Centaurans, you can't take them too seriously. And I think, although it was only one scene, and obviously they're back next week for what we expect is a much bigger story, I did like their small scene and interaction in this episode, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing where it does go in next week's episode and seeing them more in action. But yeah, this episode had so much. We had the Weeping Angels as well, who took this, I can't remember her name, but she took this woman, we presume, back in time. This woman was interesting because she did actually say to the Doctor, I'm going home. I think it was something like the long way round, which is obviously a reference to the Doctor. That's what the first Doctor said, I think, when he was returning to Gallifrey. I might be wrong, but the Doctor definitely said that at some point in their life. And be interesting to see what's going on there. Is she maybe a Division member, something like that? Maybe. Not really sure where they're going to go with that, but it's really interesting, that character. We'll have to see if she's something to do with the Division, the Time Lords, or if it's just, that was just a cool Doctor Who reference and that was it. But yeah, she'll come back, we presume, at a later point with the Weeping Angels. And yeah, overall, this episode was a lot to take in. I will definitely need to rewatch it, because you can probably tell with this review I'm a bit all over the place, because it's a very weird episode. It was just so much things going on. We also got to meet Vinder as well. We meet him in just about one scene. Get a good introduction to him. We need to learn more about him. I'm sure we'll see more of him throughout the season. But yeah, the main stuff is, I really liked this episode. I think it is setting up the season ahead. I liked the introduction to Dan. I liked the whole mystery of the Swarm. I'm really intrigued to see where that goes. But overall, this was a very solid series opener. It was a bit crazy, a bit mental. It definitely needs time for reflection now, because there was a lot to take in. But I think, as a fan, I really enjoyed it, and I'm interested. I've got all these thoughts going through my head now, all these theories and what's going to go on for the season ahead, and I'm very excited. But what did you think of the Halloween apocalypse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I do apologise if this review has been a bit all over the place. It's just, it was a very difficult episode to take in. There's just so much going on, so you kind of, there's so much to talk about. But I will probably do another video late in the week where I'll give my further thoughts when I've thought about it on reflection. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I will of course be back with more channels throughout the week, and I'll be back next week as well with the review of episode 2, War of the Centaurans. Also as well, not even mentioned it yet, the cliffhanger. We had the cliffhanger where the swarm was entering the TARDIS, so it'll be interesting to see how that's resolved. And imagine it'll be quite easy, but I did like that cliffhanger. And the stuff with the TARDIS as well, very interesting. It does sound like the TARDIS for probably an unknown reason. It is being I'm not really sure if it's been controlled by the swarm, but something's going on there with the TARDIS, and it does look like that whole TARDIS dying rumour is going to be true, because it does look like the Doctor probably will return to ancient Gallifrey. I'm just interested to see, will we get like an evil Doctor this season? Who knows? But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.